everyone. Welcome to the Travel Collective Ask April and Cindy. Tonight is our Monday night series, and tonight we're talking about how to survive a long flight. So some of these flights can be 15, 16 hours. A long flight for you might be 4 hours. Anything over 4 or 5 hours for me is a long flight. But those long flights, it's a lot of time to sit in one space. So having traveled a little bit and done some research, we can at least share some tips and what we've done, and we'd love to hear from you. So please put those in the chat comments or the description below. Add your comments if you have questions or even tips for others as we talk about this. So,
yeah,
welcome,
thanks,
April.
Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Thanks. Yeah, I think long flights can really vary on just your personality too, of how long you're comfortable sitting. I mean, even an East Coast to West Coast, West Coast to East Coast trip, some of those to me can be really long. It's just because your day can start early and then now you're stuck at the airport and then you're in this plane. So this is a really good topic. I'm really glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I think like everything else we talk about, planning and preparing makes it so much better. So
Right.
if you know you're taking a long flight, I mean, I know folks talk about whether they like to fly during the day or the evening, and it depends on, I think, kind of like where you're going, what's happening. If you're someone who sleeps easily on the plane, then flying through the evening is probably a beautiful thing because you can just sleep and it won't impact you. But if you can't sleep on the plane, then you're not getting sleep and you arrive during the day, so that might be a problem. I mostly pay attention when I'm booking my flight as to when I'm going to arrive in the destination. That seems to be more important to me than whether I'm flying in the evening or during the day. I want to arrive during the day.
Right.
I like to get to my destination when the sun is still out. It makes navigating to my hotel or lodging wherever I'm going a lot easier than arriving in the evening. So I'll sacrifice certain things so that my arrival is at the right time. But so what do you think is the longest flight you've been on, April?
Probably the flight from LA to probably somewhere in Europe. I've gone to Frankfurt, I've gone to Italy, like LAX to Frankfurt, probably even LAX to Ireland. Those are pretty long flights when they're direct. I know both of those were direct flights. And it's part of it's a mental thing. I think for me, I agree. I look at what time I'm going to land there, and it depends if I'm by myself or if I'm going to meet up with someone at the hotel. Like, I'd prefer to get there during the day. I'd prefer to, it's light out, like my senses, it's a little bit easier, as you said, to navigate. The same thing is, if I'm meeting up with someone, just lining it up, because I do myself, I prefer to get there when it's light out. And I think it helps me adjust to, resetting my personal clock. And then.
Yeah. And so I think the longest flight I've been on is when I went to Vietnam, and that was a 15-hour flight.
Oh my gosh.
And I know there's longer flights, but for me that was just grueling, because you're on the plane for, feels like days. When they serve you 3 and 4 meals on your flight,
my gosh.
You're like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, how long am I going to be on this thing? So, I know the goal here tonight was to talk about like how to survive. And one of the things that we all do, at least most folks do, is bring your own food. Now, we started bringing our own food because U.S. Airlines stopped feeding us on our flights.
Right, yeah.
But I still, even on longer flights where they serve food, I often bring my own stuff. I may eat what they provide, but I'll still bring some, if not most, of my own stuff, because for whatever reason, that is usually better food. I can eat it when I want to. I'm not required to eat during their meal times, for example. And then if I don't like what they offer, I have food to choose from that I've already brought. So I don't know if you do that, April, but I always bring my own food on a flight.
Yeah, I do. I do bring some snacks and things like that. I think it's the same thing. I think physically you prepare better if you know you've got these snacks and they're things that you're comfortable, your body's gonna eat or not eat.
Right.
Because you don't know when the meals are going to come, if you're going to be sleeping or if it's just not going to be appealing. I think there's a lot that goes into that. And I know, Cindy, you bring a lot of great packable foods.
Yeah, I have little tin, which I'll share in the descriptions of this, that I bring, that I travel with, and not just on flights, but on everything. I use that little lunch tin for everything, and it fills with lots of stuff. But I, have put fruit and nuts and cheese and those kinds of things in this, things that I can eat little bits at a time, so that I, again, am not hungry necessarily when the meal comes. And if I look at it and go, oh, I don't really want this. I mean, most of those meals, even if it's supposed to be good food, it's warmed up in a microwave, right?
Yeah,
Like
right,
it's not the best or the freshest food usually.
right. Yeah,
I do know some airlines do better, especially international airlines do better, and their food is good. But again, I like to make sure I bring that. And then I do bring water. I mean, unfortunately, water is a little hard to get in and out of an airport, right? So I will bring a refillable water bottle, and I fill it up once I cross through security.
right,
And then I refill it, at the airports as I go through, because sometimes you have to stop. I know you'll have a layover, and then I refill it again for the next flight.
right.
But that's much cheaper than buying the water when you get there. And most airports are now having water bottle refilling stations. So like where their drinking fountains used to be, they're setting
Right,
up
exactly.
fountains just specifically to do that. So that makes that a whole lot easier. I just bring it empty, right? Um,
Yeah.
so staying hydrated when you fly is really important. I think that helps with the air and so forth. And then having something to do. When I talk about the food, I break up my flight into things to do. So, I'll bring a book to read, a movie to watch, something to, maybe a puzzle or something to work on, like on paper, things to keep my brain occupied. But I'll just go through those, sort of cycle things, which is like, I'm going to watch my movie first, then I'll get my snack out and I'll eat this portion of my snack.
Right. Yeah.
Then I'll get my book out and read until I get tired, and then I'll do this game for a little while. So you have to kind of entertain yourself, and
Right.
have
I think that's important. Yeah.
things to do. And I definitely use my food as a part of a pacing myself. So I eat this portion first, and then I'll eat another portion a couple hours later, and another portion, just to keep it entertaining. Having things like that to do on the flight really makes a big difference.
Yeah, I always plan ahead like you do, kind of look at how long the flight is, what time I'm going to land, kind of back it up and then divide it out like, well, how many movies will that maybe be? And I always download, 2, 3, 4 movies. And in fact, sometimes before, if I know, well, with international flights, usually several months in advance that you're going to be going there. I'll like save some like
Yes.
movies that I'm really looking forward to watching, and I'll be like, I'm not watching that at home. I have to save that for the plane, just because then I'll have something to look forward to that'll be entertaining, and hopefully, well, that's like 2 hours or even longer movies. I'm like, you know what? That's a 3 hour movie. That's a definite plane movie, because
Right.
it'll eat up a lot more time of keeping me entertained. And
Yeah.
like you said, reading materials, a book of puzzles. I usually like to look out the window part of the time. So I'll, even just try
Right.
to allow some time just to like, okay, close everything, rest your eyes, and just, observe outside if it's clear and you can see things.
Yeah, yeah, and just shifting it up. And then when we're talking about shifting it up, like I have a bit of a back issue, so I can't sit. 15 hours sitting in a chair will kill me.
Oh gosh.
So I do definitely, make it a point to get every couple of hours. So to be fair to my fellow passengers, I often try to get the aisle seat, not because it's my favorite seat, but because I know I have to get up. I can't sit for more than maybe 2 or 3 hours at a time without getting up and walking. And I do that. I get up and walk down the aisle. Sometimes I'll just get up and stand. You might have to ask someone on the plane, like, where's the right place to stand, because they don't
Oh,
like you to
that's true. Yeah.
crowd around the bathrooms or crowd in the front. But if I communicate that I have an issue with my back and that I kind of need to be up for a few minutes, they'll usually tell me, oh, just go up there and stand, or you can stand back here with us. Like, they're usually pretty good about that. And I also do stretches, right? When I stand, I'll
Right.
stretch my back
Yeah.
out. That really helps. And I've tried compression socks. Have you had any luck with compression socks? Have you done that?
I haven't actually done compression socks, but a lot of my hiking socks that I like to wear are kind of like good for your feet. They're kind of compression like that.
Uh-huh.
So I do tend to wear like a hiking sock, and a lot of times, like a lot of people, I take the heaviest. Like if I'm going on a photography trip, I have to wear the hiking boots. They just take up way too much space. But
Right, right.
want to I'll keep them loose, or, be able to take them off easy, because yeah, to get your feet out, most of our feet swell when we fly. And just, again, that
Yeah.
whole idea of like a good sock, because I won't walk around an airport barefoot. That's just, it's like not my
No,
thing.
absolutely not. That's a good thing that you brought up, because when we're going through security at the airport, and I know that was one of the topics we wanted to talk about, I am very careful about what I wear to the airport, that I have socks on. And I have socks on for both the airport security that I have to go through, but also, like you said, when you get on the
Yeah.
plane, you want to take your shoes off. And honestly, even your socks, I don't like that either. Socks, I bring slippers. I bring like little slide on
Yeah.
stocking slippers to switch into, mostly so that they're not my sweaty socks that I've had
Right.
on for maybe an hour or more that I arrived at the airport. So if I just take my shoes off, people are like, "Ooh, you're just like airing out your
I know.
sweaty feet," right? But if I take my shoes off and then slip on my little slippers, even if it's over top of my socks, sometimes I switch. I'll take my
Right.
sock all the way off and put my little slipper on, little slipper socks on. But then people know that those are actually slippers. They're clean. They're not, I just put them on. So
Right. Right.
I know that's a pet peeve. You'll see people say, "Why is this person sitting next to me with their bare feet?" Because that is kind of
Yeah, it is.
unsanitary. And I certainly don't want to walk through security
Oh,
without
no. No.
without my shoes or socks on. So that's definitely something to consider when you're going on a long flight, is bringing some extra ones. And I've used compression socks, but I don't have a lot of success with that. But I think mostly because my feet still swell even if I'm
Yeah.
wearing them. And then the compression socks just get tighter.
Yeah, I think it'd
And
be
then they start to
painful.
hurt.
Some of
Yeah.
those
Mm-hmm.
tight ones. Yeah, I
So
think.
I think getting up and walking is so much better, for my circulation, and that's really why your feet are swelling, is because you're just sitting and
Right.
you know. So getting up and walking up and down the aisle. I see people do this when I was younger. I would see people get up and like pace.
Yeah,
They do
right,
little
right.
laps, and you're like,
Yeah,
who is this person doing laps? I am now the person doing laps, right? Like that's
right,
me.
exactly right. Yeah.
But I think it's because we've learned that that's what works better, is
Right. You
getting
actually
up.
need to get up and stretch. Like you said, I think it is. It's important to kind of stretch or bend. If I'm waiting, I'll try to like just even at my seat, bend down low, or, rearrange my legs, or try to shift, because one position, it can get very painful for a long period of time.
Right. And I know some people use like the neck pillow. I don't find that works for me, but I usually do bring a small travel pillow because I like one thing to put my head on. I
Right.
almost always bring a scarf, um, instead of a blanket. The scarf is a dual purpose item, right? But I can use it as a blanket if I'm cold. If I'm trying to sleep for whatever reason, that helps me. Um, I've not tried the hammock, the little foot hammock rest that people
No,
have.
I haven't tried that. No.
But I think that would be helpful. I often, most of the time, what I do is I shove my backpack under the seat in front of me like you're supposed to, and then I use that to rest my feet on. So I just put
Yeah.
my clean socked, slipper
Right.
socked feet right
Right.
on top of that, and I use it kind of like a little footstool. So if that helps, just shifting your
Yeah.
position of your legs, right? Because
Right.
those long
Right.
flights are. Um, I don't know if you have a good flight story. Have you met anyone or had a interesting activity happen on a flight, April?
Not that I can think of. I mean, not recently. Not, sometimes you'll sit down, and sometimes someone's sitting next to you, and sometimes, you can tell they want to chat. So, chatting, sometimes it can be really pass the time quite a bit.
Right.
That can be helpful, in a way. And other times you just are running to like do your own thing. So you want to just like pull out your book and kind of give that message of, what, I've got my thing here. I got my headset on for even if I'm not watching something yet, I'm like listening to something, or yeah.
Right. Right.
But you mentioned scarves, and they have these new scarves that have the little zipper pouch in the
Oh,
scarf.
yeah.
And I've gotten one of those, and they have a out of t-shirt material, and some are actually warmer materials. And those
Uh-huh.
are excellent because you can then just put your, like some money in there, or you can put your
Oh,
ID
wow.
or, right in the little zipper part. And then it's right here. And also
Uh-huh.
for going, yes, you have to go through security and take it off, but it's
Right.
one more place to stash some stuff. Like,
Oh,
even
that's
if it's a chapstick or some mints to suck on, because you can get your mouth gets all dry sometimes. So just to have
right.
something to, I usually like to have something to just to suck on. I'm not always a big hard candy person, but for flying, I usually take some hard
Hard.
candies or mints or something just to kind of suck
Yeah.
on and just kind of, yeah, keep it so
Yeah.
you get all dry and gummy and.
Yeah. I usually bring a small little amount of things for when I arrive because
Oh, that's smart.
when you brought up the mints, the mints are usually a part of that. Um, because when you get off a 15-hour flight, you don't feel very good. You haven't
No.
showered, you've been sleeping and not sleeping, you've been eating, you've been curled up in a little ball for several hours. So it just feels, uh.
Yeah, it feels
So
icky.
yeah, I bring like wipes, whether they're baby wipes or face wipes or whatever they want to call them. I do bring those. Sometimes I travel with them depending on where I'm going. But if I don't need them for my travel, so if I'm hiking or doing outdoor stuff, I'll often have a small package of those that I'm bringing
Right.
anyway. But if not, I'll bring like an individual packet or two of those wipes so that I can wipe my face off, wipe my hands off, put a mint in, take a fresh glass of water, right? Like just some of
Right.
that stuff will
Right.
make you feel awake finally when you
Yeah,
arrive at the
exactly.
destination. So I think that helps for the long flights. I've purchased those they're like little tablets, and if you put them in water, they expand into sort of
Oh,
this like
right. Yeah,
gauzy thing. But
right.
those are fantastic. I travel with those all the
Oh,
time.
really?
They have come in handy. I cannot tell you how many times. So
Oh,
if you
that's
don't have
awesome.
a wipe, if you want to just take that, and I've used these where you just take them into the public restroom and you just run it underwater, and it becomes a pretty good sized sheet, but
Oh, wow.
it's gauzy, right? So it's really
Right.
thin,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But it is absolutely something that you can then use to wipe your face off and refresh yourself with, and then it's real
Right.
thin, so you can toss it if you want. Um, but as I said, they've saved me a few times. Those little things, we were staying somewhere. I think it was my mom and I want to say it was when we were in Europe, in France. They didn't have washcloths, so a lot of countries don't offer. They don't
Oh,
provide them in their bathrooms. Like for whatever reasons, a washcloth is not a normal thing.
right,
So
right.
here we are in this lovely place. We've got all these towels and everything's great in the bathroom, but you can't wash your face off. Like you don't have any. So I just took my little tablets in there and like opened them up, and those became our washcloths. I had, they only lasted a couple of
Yeah,
days because they're really thin,
right.
but we cycled through them, and you can hang them up and they dry, and
Oh,
reuse them
those
a
are
couple of times.
excellent.
Yeah, so they're really a great thing just to pop in your purse, even in case
Right,
for some
right.
reason
That's
you
excellent.
need to
Yeah,
wipe something off, right? If you're out and about and you got dirty or something
yeah.
spilled on you,
Right,
you don't
right,
have anything to wipe it off with, right? So you can just go,
right.
you suddenly have a little washcloth. It's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, that's
So
excellent.
there's lots of little tips for, making that long flight a little bit better. And I have, you were saying you put your headphones in and not talk to people. And I've tried to avoid that. Like, I think it's a thing that we think you're going to get stuck next to somebody who is going to just talk your ear off. And you've heard those stories. So you just go in with this mental thing, like, don't talk to me. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
have, in the last few times that I've flown, I have tried to engage for just a minute with the person next
Oh,
to
have
me, and
you?
I've met
Yeah.
some beautiful people, learned some amazing things. I met a gentleman, I think he's from Thailand, who does. His father owns a suit, like a tailor shop, and they import fabric from all over the world, and like that's his job, and he was traveling for that purpose. And so, I mean, we ended up talking. He was a younger man, I would never have had anything in common with him, like no reason to ever chat with him otherwise.
Right.
But we just started talking about places he's been and how he feels about when he travels, and we talked about his family. I had planned, like we do, like for books to read and movies to watch. I did none of that. I ended up talking to him the entire time. We are now Facebook friends, and I follow him in his travels as he goes, around doing things. I mean, again, I don't know him very well. We had like, a couple hour chat on a flight one time. But it's amazing the people that you can meet if you just sort of, hey, how are you?
Right. Or ask, like, are you going home, or are you traveling to this location? Right. What kind of takes you there? Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be that annoying person that won't leave them alone, right? So if they start to put their stuff on, or they're like, okay, I'm not interested in talking, you're respectful of that. But also, you might be surprised that a lovely conversation can be struck up on the plane, and you meet somebody that you have never known. I know I wish my mom was here, because she's met people that worked with me on the plane.
What? Really? Oh my gosh.
So they're like, oh, we know your daughter, and there's this whole conversation. It's really funny.
That is funny. Oh my gosh.
I think my son has done that too. Just because I work with a lot of people that do international travel and come in and out of LAX, so it wasn't surprising. But it's funny, if you don't talk to them, you would never have known.
No,
right?
you wouldn't know, right? That you had that in common.
That you had something in common with somebody else. I'm trying to think if I have other stories for myself, but I do think that that's a fun thing to do, is just kind of introduce yourself to people when you're traveling, the people that are sitting next to you.
Yeah, that is good.
See how fun that is.
But yeah, just thinking about security, like you brought up. Yeah, I always plan ahead because security has changed so much in the last several years that, I know people are trying to get through security, sometimes especially at LAX, because I always fly through LAX. I don't know, I just got used to doing it. And so, I think about and for me, sometimes if I'm traveling with more photography stuff, it's like I have to wear my biggest, bulkiest shoes, like I mentioned, like the hiking boots. So then it's like, okay, I'm going to make it so they're easy to slide off, get on and off quickly. Just the jackets, those have to come off, because usually I want to have a jacket on that has a lot of pockets with stuff. But yeah, just being prepared to go through security of what needs to come out, and making sure like the toiletries, like the little, bag with your liquids, needs to be at the top of my backpack for this moment. I mean, I may repack it slightly after I get through security, but just giving thought to what may have to come out of the bag. And it seems like that keeps changing. Like sometimes they want your food out of the bag. So now you have to think about pulling your food or your empty, just at least show your empty water container to show that it's empty.
And when you travel a lot, knowing that certain items are unusual, like, I mean, there might be, I've had a curling iron get like, what is that in your bag? I want to see it. I have a really big, I should have it here. It's not at my desk, but I have a really big battery pack that I travel with.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's pretty good size, and that's all it is. It's just this big metal brick, right? That often gets pulled out. Like, what is that? Because when they X-ray it, they'll see it. So if you know that you have items that under the X-ray are going to look kind of unusual, it's good to put those at the top, right? So you can, they can see them right away. Oh, that's what that is. And knowing that. I had an incident when I was wearing my Fitbit. So I currently wear it on my wrist, but I used to wear, in the early days of Fitbit, it was like a little clip.
Yeah.
And so it was supposed to be clipped on your waistband, but I used to clip it on my bra.
Right.
Because it's really tiny, and I just clip it on my bra, and it's hidden, and now no one knows it's there, and I don't even know it's there. So I completely forgot that I had it. I don't remember. It must have been going through one of those where you put your hands up.
Right.
And they saw it. So we come out, and she says, "You have something on you."
Oh,
and I went to, and immediately I knew what it was. I was like, "Oh, it's my Fitbit." And I went to go get it, and she got really like upset with me, like, "Don't touch it."
Oh.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I had to show them the Fitbit so that they, could go through it. But so it's just interesting that you bring up, like, you know, you have to go through your water bottle. There's lots of things that might look strange going through security. And it's not that you can't take them, and it's not that, you know, any of that. It's just a matter of, like you said, put it at the top. So in case there's a question,
Right.
it's not under.
Or be aware that it's not under a bunch of stuff, like, you know,
Right.
hard to get to. And
Right.
same with what you're wearing. I know sometimes when I was traveling with the band, sometimes I would wear something more, you know, there's a lot of sequins and glitter and rhinestones on stuff. Those like are gonna like flag right away through the security, and it's like, you know, the bling stuff. I mean, just as a heads up, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a shirt or something, and it's like the whole thing lights up, and I get through, and she's the woman's like wanding me. She's like, you know what, honey? She's like, try not to wear this blingy stuff. It just, like, you know, it just sets it all off.
Sets it all off. Yeah, they think you're wearing like a metal vest when it's just
right. It's just a shirt. So it's like, I learned after that, I'm like, you know what, you're right. It's because it's like that extra step, that extra time, because sometimes they'll literally, like, you have to be pushed aside and now wait, and it's a little longer. I mean,
yeah, I'm glad that they do all those things for us, too, right? Yeah. But if I can avoid being pulled out of the crowd for it, that's absolutely what you want to do, is get move on away from that kind of stuff. So, and then I think the last topic maybe we can just talk about real quickly is jet lag. And I know that we were talking at the top of this call about, traveling and arriving during the day. And there are some things you can do about making sure that you don't have too bad of jet lag when you arrive. You're going to have it, especially if there's a big difference, right? There's no way around it. But there are a number of ways to do it. Both arriving during the daytime, I think that really helps kind of set your clock right away.
Yeah, exactly. And then drinking lots of water. I know how being really hydrated. And just for me, like, same thing, when you arrive during the day, forcing yourself to stay up, as they say, until it's kind of the normal time. You may be really tired and dragging. I mean, I've really, but it's worth pushing yourself so that when you finally do go to bed, you'll be really tired and you'll get reset on that clock.
Yeah, and I've been told, and I think it does help, to start eating in the new time as soon as possible. They say that your circadian rhythm is built both by the sunlight, right? Like, that gets adjusted, as well as your timing of your meals.
Right.
So if you're eating at the times that you eat in your home state or home country, and then when you get there, you shift into those meal times, that is part of the shift. So one of the things you can do is a day before or on the flight, start eating during the new time zones meal times.
Right.
Like, that will make a difference. And also sleeping during the new time zones, sleeping hours, just like with that 15-hour flight. Like, I might have been tired because it was going to be nighttime when I got on, but it might be better for me to stay awake and try to sleep when it would be nighttime when I arrived in Vietnam.
Right.
So the sooner you can start living by their clock, the sooner your jet lag will get adjusted, for sure.
Yeah, I think those are really good tips, and that's true. Even if I'm just going to go to the East Coast, sometimes the week before I'll just start, it's maybe only 3 hours, but those 3 hours really can be impactful. Just like I notice sometimes in the morning, it's like I'm drinking my coffee at 9. Well, it's already lunchtime, on the East Coast. So the week before, I'll just kind of start shifting, like going to bed a little earlier, waking up a little earlier, just to kind of start putting my body, since I know when I do get there, maybe I'm only there for a week. Sometimes when I go to the East Coast, I want to make the most of my time and be alert and active and enjoying the time and not fighting the jet lag, so to speak. Because even 3 hours can really affect some people.
Right. So I think we covered all the flight stuff, right? Getting through security, making it through the security line, making it through the longer flight, some of the challenges that you have, and then some of the jet lag that long flights bring along, because it absolutely happens regardless. Everybody, I think, goes through it at different levels. So it'll be fun to hear what other folks have on tips. So please put those in the comments down below and share with us what your tips are, or if you've had a great story of where you've met someone on a plane, we'd love to hear about that also. So
definitely.
Thanks, April. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. It was a great chat.